Another special edition. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another special edition of the Turkish Philanthropy Fund, Voices of Partners. Today, my name is Didem Altop. Today, I have the honor of speaking with three of the grant recipients from the Turkish Philanthropy Fund's Earthquake Funds. And we'll be speaking with the Outreach Coordinator of Suna'nın Kızları Ahu Özyurt, the President of Çukurova University, Professor Dr. Meryem Tuncel, and the General Manager of Mother-Child Education Foundation, also known lovingly as AÇEV, Senem Başyurt. It's really a pleasure to be with you. I know that we're going through some really difficult, terrible times. But on the other hand, I think we always have to look for the helpers. Like when these type of disasters happen, we really need to look for the bright spots where the light shines through. And those are the organizations like yours, the nonprofit organizations that are on the ground dealing with relief recovery activities, both in the short term, medium term, long term. So as we begin, I would like to actually do a quick tour of your organizations and learn more about what you do in a normal day, as opposed to one that's so dramatic. And maybe we might start with Suna'nın Kızları and Ahu Özyurt.
Didem, thank you. And it's a great honor and pleasure to be among with these young, wonderful panelist friends of ours, and we would like to thank Turkish Philanthropy for providing the opportunity for us. My name is Ahu Özyurt. I work at Suna'nın Kızları, an organization launched by Miss İpek Kıraç, honoring her mother, late Miss Suna Kıraç. And it's focusing on basically creating a space, creating a model for girls that would empower them, create opportunities for them to reach their full potential. Before the earthquake, we were thinking of creating models that would empower girls in places where they drop out of school, when they're forced into early marriages. But we wanted to do this in a more collective effort way. That's why we gathered 31 NGO friends of ours and launched this ecological perspective of collective impact. We were beginning to model this sort of girl-friendly spaces with 5 different work groups, including school, neighborhood, girls' voices, research, and girl-centered design in Şanlıurfa. But the earthquake basically didn't change our focus, but made us more inclined towards the earthquake disaster area, almost accelerated what we wanted to do in the area of girls' empowerment and girls' focus on education. And normally, before this, I worked as a journalist for 30 years, and now I'm, blessed to be in this work of non-governmental organization. Thank you.
What a graceful and elegant mission in general, let's say. But I'm also it's very heartwarming to hear you engaging other stakeholders and making it a collaborative kind of collective effort. And hopefully that will resonate and keep exponentially growing in that capacity. And we'll come back to the earthquake activities in a moment. Hocam, Meryem Hocam, I'm going to say, it's a pleasure to meet with you today as the president of Çukurova University, the rector of Çukurova University. Of course, you're a university normally, but you have a very interesting background as well. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do as the university? What are your main mission and goals?
Thank you, Didem. Pleasure is mine. I am actually very happy to be part of this webinar and would like to thank TPF for this opportunity. My name is Meryem Tuncel. I am currently the director of Çukurova University, which is located in southern part of Turkiye. I am a physician. My specialty is nephrology and hypertension. I actually educated medical students and trained physicians for many years in US, mostly in University of Connecticut Medical School and Texas Tech Medical School. I was appointed as rector of the Çukurova University in August of 2020 and moved back to Turkey. I have a 24-year-old son. He graduated from NYU, majored in political science, and now he has third-year student at Texas, and currently has, unfortunately, COVID.
Oh, no. So when you came back to the role of president of Çukurova University in 2020, that was literally right before COVID, right? So you came back right before the COVID epidemic.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
we
had
have, yeah.
a very exciting, let's say 3 years essentially of ups and downs and crisis management all around as the university.
Yeah. Actually, we have been going a lot of troubles since I started first COVID, now earthquake, because we are one of the cities which got affected by this devastating earthquake in Turkiye. Also, my university is located in that zone of Turkiye.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So life has been challenging.
How many students are at Çukurova University overall currently?
We are close to 50,000.
50,000. So it's probably one of the top 10 largest schools in the
Correct.
country. It sounds like. It's fascinating. Okay. Well, we'll come back to you in a moment. And let's have a chance to talk to the Mother Child Education Foundation General Manager, Senem Başyurt. Of course, AÇEV is one of the most loved, I think, trusted organizations, nonprofit organizations in the country. And you've raised the visibility of the nonprofit world over so many years. It's a pleasure talking to you again, Senem.
Thank you very much, Didem. It's really an honor to be among such esteemed guests and a wonderful host. I would like to thank TPF for having all of us together here. I am the general manager of AÇEV for the last 1.5 years. I was working with another NGO before that, and I have a long experience in the private sector before that in banking and consulting. Ahu and I are actually friends from primary school. So,
oh, wow. That's great.
So in AÇEV, we work in the early childhood development area, working with children up to 6 years old and their parents. So we have developed intervention programs, and AÇEV has been implementing those for the last 30 years. This is our 30th year, actually, this year. And we work to minimize the inequalities of opportunity in these early ages. We focus on early childhood because this is the most important part of the human life, actually, where most of the traits that will be coming to use in the later stages of life are developed. So we work on this area. We have programs for children. We have programs for their mothers and fathers. And we have been active in all areas of early childhood for the last 30 years.
That's fascinating.
So, thank you.
I mean, the whole early childhood developmental period is so fascinating when you think about how exponentially fast the children are learning. They're developing emotional skills, social skills, linguistic skills, pretty much learning how to learn, right? So it's a fascinating time. And I know we're here to talk about something more somber, and I love the work that you're doing that's uplifting the country in general. But let's turn to the earthquake. It really was a catastrophic event. Kind of around the world, it was such a remarkable event because nothing of this magnitude has happened in recent history. It's the beginning stages were different. Of course, there was the emergency response activities. Then there were relief activities, and now we're slowly transitioning into recovery activities. But throughout all of this, the Turkish Philanthropy Fund has been working with donors around the world to raise money for grant recipients. And of course, the three of you represent some of our closest collaborators over the years. And we did a lot of special projects for the earthquake, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that. So would you like to kick us off and talk about Suna'nın Kızları and your perspective on what needed to happen with, response, relief, and recovery, and what you guys are doing?
Didem, thank you again for this opportunity, because it looks like this was a sort of a turning point for the Turkish NGO universe. We all learned to collaborate again. We all went to the field again and worked side by side. And I know there are numerous NGOs on the field working tirelessly, day to day, every day, doing recovery work. and it's a long process. We'll come back to that later, but let me briefly tell about Suna'nın Kızları, which probably translates into Suna's girls, referring to the late wonderful Suna Kıraç. We were thinking of focusing on girls, especially adolescent girls who were on the brink of maybe dropping out of school, but even before the earthquake. But this huge tragedy showed us that what we wanted to do, which is research-based, going out to the field and asking them what they needed to do long before the earthquake, addressing their needs as adolescent girls. We started with girls aged 0 to 18, but then we narrowed it down during the earthquake to see what their immediate and most urgent needs are. And then we saw and sort of their private and their need for some safe space to gather together, peer-to-peer, do some workshops, study, listen, get therapy, get social, emotional therapy or consultancy. And it looked like they needed some physical space actually to do these things. That's when our community center model, which was planned before the earthquake, we quickly adapted to a smaller, a more flexible container type, a physical structure that will be placed in the sort of this new temporary shelters. I wouldn't call them tent villages, container villages, but temporary housing areas, which may not be so temporary at the end of the day. But there we wanted to create these 4 container store structures that the girls will come from age 12 to 18 and spend some time and get some be a part of a curriculum that we call as Suna's Girls 101, which will be sort of empowering themselves, getting their full potential, talking to experts, meeting with people, getting mentoring. And it came out from this whole research from the field that we saw that there is a need for girls to get together, get out of their family containers and socialize and basically engage in activities, not drop out of school, maybe sit and work with their laptops or tablets. That's what we focused on. And with the help of Turkish philanthropy, we were able to put our first container. It's going to probably part of it is going to land tomorrow, and it's going to be operational as of this weekend in Pazarcık, Kahramanmaraş. And we can almost see the results of it. There's a new neighborhood shaping around this children's community center. And we're so happy and so excited. And we hope to multiply this model in other places, including the second one in Hatay, and maybe a couple of more to come. So that's what we wanted to do. We based it on research. We saw the needs of the girls, and we had to put a physical structure to address their needs and get their participation as well. If they want to say something, the girls want to say, we want to engage in sports activities, or they want to have arts workshops. It should be their choices. It should be their voices that should be heard. And this could be the beginning of maybe rebuilding the entire earthquake area from scratch. And we want the girls' participation in its entirety. That's what we.
It's fascinating, like when you summarize it as safe spaces for adolescent girls, right? That one-line summary seems very simple, but actually it has so many layers to it.
Yeah.
There's the peer-to-peer influence that happens when the girls are together. There's the curriculum of empowerment that happens. And then there's also the co-creation, which you talked about, like you're letting them design what programs they want to organize, mobilize, coordinate, and launch and lead, et cetera. So it has so many different layers, that safe space. It seems singular, but it's actually so many levels of impact. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's fascinating to see them as well, that they are very eager to, they've sort of shrugged off that tragedy mentality, and they just want to be seen and heard, and they want their needs to be addressed, which is very, very much an opportunity that come out of this huge tragedy, that we will see a whole new generation of young girls, boys as well, voicing their needs, seeing the urgency of education, and focusing on their needs and their future.
I mean, that's the other thing, right? You really flipped it on its head. Rather than making it like you're an organization that's helping people, it's more about you're an organization that's enabling people. And then that becomes you flip it from being, a victim to being a survivor, from being dependent to being resilience, right? So you're really flipping all the equation on its head through those safe spaces. It's fascinating.
Yeah, we hope to, and we'll do it with our partners, with all the, our participant NGO friends.
It's going to be really collaborative, I'm sure. There you go. There's AÇEV's already Senem's already raising her hand saying, we're there. So let's take another perspective, because Çukurova University is obviously a pillar of the community where in the earthquake zone as one of the largest universities in the country, based in the earthquake affected region. But you also have some specialization in terms of wellness activities as Çukurova University. So Meryem, can you tell us a little bit more about what you could have done? A million things. Why did you decide to focus on wellness?
Okay, Children Wellness Center that was created at Çukurova University. So I will be talking about that. The specific answer to your question, children are the most vulnerable group affected by this earthquake. So, as you all know, thousands of people lost their lives and so many got injured. A lot of children lost their one or both parents. I have seen them in the hospital. They were really, really in bad conditions. Many children also lost their extremities during earthquake or later as part of their treatment process. So we thought, these children need to be rehabilitated so they can be as healthy as they can be for their future. They need rehabilitation for physically and psychologically, obviously. With the help of volunteers, partners, and donors, Children Wellness Center is created in the campus of Çukurova University. I would like to thank TPF again for their support of this mission. Our mission, if I mention, to draw attention to the fact that children are affected by all kinds of natural and unnatural disasters, at least as much as adults, or even more so. And to determine the measures to be taken and policies to be implemented specific to children to provide the necessary support for those impacted by these negativities to adapt back to life. So this is our mission, long-term mission. This is a long-term project, actually. Our vision to make projects for children for all kinds of disasters, to share these projects with the public and authorities, to contribute to the preparation of society and the country's institutions for children affected by the disasters, developing projects suitable for the needs of children affected by disasters again, obviously to create funds to meet their needs, to provide sustainable support together with partner groups, education, health, psychological, social, etc. We also are planning to conduct specific research on needed subjects. We are planning to work with industry and technological companies and to provide inventions, patents, and advances by supporting research and development in this center as well.
So you do have expertise in the whole prosthetic area as well, is what I understand. Is
of
that
course,
correct?
yeah. Our doctors will provide these services voluntarily.
And do you think that the innovations will come in the space of prosthetics, or do you think it'll be even broader?
It will be even broader. That's our goal.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity to collaborate on the life sciences, biomedical, the whole field of entrepreneurship and innovation as well. I mean, thank goodness you're there. Thank goodness that you're thinking with such vision and systemic clarity. Of course, the research is also going to be invaluable for so many. It's a really interesting perspective and a fascinating initiative. And
we
then
already started doing treatments for these children. And the beauty is also we are helping them wherever they are in the country. So they don't have to come to our city to get this help.
oh, wow. So you've made it actually a network effect
Right.
of
Right.
creating this initiative. That's fascinating. That's even more unique, actually, when you think about it, because having the wellness center is one thing, but then being able to disseminate across the nation is an even bigger impact. See, I love it. I love the collaborative efforts here. I mean, that's just amazing. And that's what's in the midst of all this tragedy, that's what's the most heartwarming, probably, and
Right.
uplifting. So, Senem, shall we talk a little bit about AÇEV? Of course, I mean, you're the experts in the field of early childhood education and family development, et cetera. And for the earthquake, you've been working on, again, children's development and mental health issues, if I'm correct. Can you tell us a little bit about your strategy and how you're deploying?
Thank you, Didem. Actually, we have been active in the region nearly from the day one, I guess. And of course, we first ensured that all our volunteers in the region are safe and secure. So we actually deliver our trainings through our volunteer education, and we first made sure that they were okay. And we had three-stage plan. First, we concentrated on the immediate needs, actually. So we have sent relief material, whatever that was, tents, heaters, baby food, animal feed. That was my most interesting purchase of my time in AÇEV. And then we have moved on to planning the midterm, actually. So we think that the temporary settlements will be around for at least 2 years. So we think, people will need sort of a stability in that environment as well. So we have decided to set up family centers, child and family centers in these areas. And now we have 3 family centers being built in 3 areas, one in Nurdağ, Gaziantep, the other one in Defne, Hatay, and the third one is in Adıyaman. So we will provide first, of course, psychological support. We are working and collaborating with experts in that area. Then we will have first art-based programs for children. Then in time, we plan to move on with our more educational programs to come. We will be working with their parents. We will be working with young women and adolescent girls, actually. So it will be sort of a safe space for the whole family. That's what we hope these centers will be. So, and we hope that we can establish more of those in the coming periods. So we also decided on a mobile vehicle to go around the more rural areas that we cannot reach easily. So we have the first one of those we have launched it on 23rd of April on Children's Day. So we started its tour from Adıyaman. Actually, and into Gaziantep, Nurdağ later on. So that was the second stage. So we will be providing programs for children and their families in these areas with the mobile vehicle. And we have also made kits for children. So we have seen that children have lost all their belongings. Especially they wanted something of their own. So, a towel of their own, a toy of their own. So something that they can hang on to. And that's why we have now these kits containing hygiene materials and educational materials. And we have funded those with help of Turkish philanthropy funds. So, we have distributed those to the children around the area when we were there on 24th, 23rd and 24th. So, you should have seen the faces of all the children. So, it was such a great time for all of our staff. We had some of our volunteers with us. So, we will launch all of our programs in the area, I guess, in a month or so. And of course, we will be working with other NGOs for all the programs. We have already been collaborating with Suna'nın Kızları in many areas, so I guess we will continue that. So that's sort of what we do in the area. So with additional funding, we hope to expand what we do on the basis, because we really see the need that people need to go back to a more stable life. So a rhythm of life. Children should go back to their education needs. So that's what we hope to provide for them in the medium term. And then in the long term, actually, all of our centers are prefabricated, so they can be reestablished in some other area once we are finished with the temporary settlements. So they will continue their function in the long term. And I guess we will be spending a lot more time in the area, not just for the next 2 years, but for a longer time period.
I mean, I love the fact that you can repurpose what you're building already. So that in itself is also a long-term vision. I feel like the common denominator between all of the work that you're doing is really about like bearing witness and dignity, right? So you're talking about creating some sort of semblance, some sort of reliability, some sort of tempo to life. Beyond your specialties and your expertise, it's saying, I see you and here we are, I'm going to help empower you again. And you really can't turn away from this natural disaster. I mean, we need to look at it, understand it, have the people on the ground explain to us what they need. So the research-based approach to all of your activities is quite fascinating. And then be able to deliver empowering services and support, which is fascinating. So before we get to our final call for action, I would like to hear just maybe a few sentences from each of you on what you do think that the road ahead is going to look like, because we're really only in the 4th or 5th month, I think, after the earthquake. So the road to recovery is going to take some time. Senem just mentioned 2 years. What do you think is going to happen over the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years? Ahu, would you like to jump in?
I fully agree with Senem about the recovery period, and it's going to take a bit of time. People may heal faster than we think, but the numbers are staggering. That more than 3 million people have been relocated. At least 2.5 million children are affected, and their school is disrupted. Some say it's up to 4 million. So it's a huge number, and it's a vast geography. But it can start very easily, and it can, people are eager to go back to their lives, to live in proper houses, to live in better cities. And I think where we come at, with the help of Turkish philanthropy and supporters of TPF, is bringing back the NGO power of Turkish NGO society, NGO universe to the areas, to rebuild and restructure lives and services, properties, buildings, recreating cities and villages in the area. That's going to be probably the crux of the whole thing. And it's going to be encouraging to see so many NGOs working collectively, working together, complementing each other's work, from age groups to gender groups to all the disadvantaged groups, addressing the needs of everyone on the field, just like Professor Meryem Tuncel just said. There's a lot of needs out there that should be fulfilled. We cannot do it immediately, but we have to engage and commit ourselves to at least a couple of years of rebuilding, rehabilitating, and restructuring the entire life there. And this can be an opportunity, just like Senem just mentioned, once the kids know that there's a children's center there, or once the girls know that there's a safe space for them, when their cities are built, they're going to ask for it. And they say, hey, I want my, sağlık ocağı in my house, office here, my pharmacy right here, and a children's center here, and a library here, then it's going to be a different, entire region will probably change in a better way. And that's my only hope and pray for that, for the entire people of the whole suffering. And they're going to rebuild their land, and we're going to help them. You know, it's us, our land, but their neighborhoods are going to be rebuilt with the power of collective effort.
So, I mean, yes, all of it's so heartbreaking, but there is that silver lining, let's call it, which is rebuilding better. And maybe we can even leapfrog a lot of things, and instead of, you know, wandering down like inefficient methods, now maybe we can leapfrog. And, you know, when those communities interact with nonprofit organizations, this whole notion of civic engagement and being able to co-create and be demanding of things becomes a new norm. So I think if we can infuse that into that population, into that community, in that neighborhood, which you're already doing, it will give them momentum to rebuild better. I think it's going to be quite interesting. Meryem Hanım, what would you like to share with us in terms of?
So Ahu explained so well the recovery of the region. I don't want to repeat the same thing, but I can speak about our project, that it's going to be long-term. We like to support these children until they are 21, until they complete 21, not just health support, prostheses, etc., psychological support. We also would like to support them with education. We like to give them, you know, some sort of money for them to use for their education, find jobs, train them. We have long-term plans for this reason. It will take a lot of effort and time, and also support from the foundations like you guys.
Yeah, I hear you. Being able to give them that boost is going to make all the difference in the world, and it is a long-term commitment to do so. And it also sounds like just the plan and the strategy that you've implemented is for this disaster, but also for, heaven forbid, future disasters, right? So you're already like in disaster preparedness mode, which is going to also be really quite interesting. And that's a topic that's going to keep coming up, it seems like. We're going to start talking more and more about disaster preparedness as opposed to, you know, relief and recovery and all those things. And Senem, you actually tipped us off when you were talking about your future vision, but would you also like to share your view on what you think is going to happen over the next 2 years?
Recovery is a long-term thing. So we, unfortunately, I should say, have experience from the previous earthquakes in Turkey. We are a disaster prone, let's say, geography. So, and actually, it's, yes, people tend to turn back to their normal life after once the temporary settlements are gone away, but then they will still need the recovery period, especially on the psychological support side. So I don't think our work will be done until for a very long time. We have to be in the area for a very long time. But I think it's also an opportunity to raise awareness of the public in general, that we need better living spaces. You know, we need better cities, better planned cities, and it raised awareness for the needs of children. So we have seen that we need to build child-friendly cities, child-friendly towns in general. So we have to make sure that our children's lives are not disrupted, because it's such a short period of time, and once you miss it, once you miss the 1 or 2 years of that very precious time in the life of children, so you miss a huge part of it actually. So you cannot really bring that back. So we have to be acting quickly, yes, but with the knowledge that we have to be in the area for a long period of time. So it's a marathon. it's not something that we can do in the short term and just go back to normal. So we will need the donors for a longer term as well. So I hope that they will be able to support our efforts for a longer period of time than we normally ask for, maybe. But I think that's a good opportunity, both to do something better than we had before. So we have to make sure that our systems are better than what they were before the earthquake. So I think that's something positive coming out of maybe a sad story. But I see lots of hope. So I see that children are really ready to move on, and their families too. So I hope we can provide them a much better future.
Well, you've elegantly, as usual, you've elegantly dovetailed into my next round of questions. So I'm going to go backwards now and say, what's the call to action? And your call to action was for donors to keep supporting us, I think. Is there anything you'd like to add to your call to action, Senem?
Yes, it's a marathon, as I said, so we will be needing support, and actually to make sure that we keep it in the news of everyone, in the agenda of everyone in the coming period. So, and I hope it also will add to the collaboration efforts. So we have seen that we are better when we work together.
Yes. That's wonderful.
So that's a learning, and I hope that will be something we take with us going forward.
Wonderful. And Meryem Hanım, would you like to share your call to action with us as well?
We are also asking continuing support for this unfortunate children so they can have a better life in the future.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. And Ahu, we started with you. Let's wrap up with you. Your call to action.
Thank you for the opportunity. And our call to action is keep your support to Turkish philanthropy because it's vital. We owe the ones that we lost. It's our owe and our debt to them that there will be a better Turkiye for their children, for the survivors, and we can build it. We can build it together, all together, with your help as well. Just like Louisiana and New Orleans survived after Katrina and rebuild it even better. We can do it much better, and we promise that we will do it much better.
Wonderful. So, it's kind of appropriate. We just had the 23rd of April Children's Day festivities all around the world. And today we really focused on children, adolescents, teenagers. We focused on all of the children's needs today working together. The Turkish Philanthropy Fund's Earthquake Fund has raised close to 12 million at this point. And it's been doing grant making activities to organizations like yours, which is amazing. Over time, we're also probably not only will we keep building that fund, so there's an opportunity there, but over time, we're also exploring other ways to highlight specific needs, like whether it's a children-based or whether it's issue-based topics. So the other thing that Turkish Philanthropy Fund is really trying to do is be as transparent as possible. We're really sharing what we do, sharing what we learn, and everyone can be held accountable for not only the funds that we're raising and the funds that we're distributing, but the impact that we're all collectively trying to achieve. So you can check out tpffund.org to learn more about the grants that have been made to date and other grant making opportunities coming into the future. So it'll be wonderful to see that type of engagement over the long term as well. Thank you all for the amazing work that you're doing. It really is heartwarming in the midst of such tragedy. I hope that the future ahead is much easier and continues to be as exciting as you are right now. You have so much energy. It's amazing to feel that energy. You shared it very clearly. And I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to all of our listeners and our supporters. It's a pleasure to work together. We're going to be rebuilding better. Thank you.
Thank you.